Welcome back to Agranak Studios. I'm DM Wisdom. Last week, I posted on my YouTube community tab asking my subscribers what they thought of as a controversial or spicy take in regards to RPGs. Here's what you said and my personal take on it. Let me warn you, these are opinions, and opinions are like bad D20s. Most RPGers have them, and all of them roll natural ones. Unless you have a die that is all 20s. If you have a differing opinion, leave it in the comments. But please be nice. Alright, let's get to it. Bloodwolf Ninja 109 says, as the GM, never fudge your dice. I think the RPG community is kind of split on this one, and I can see the arguments for both sides. I would say there is a very slight 0.000001% of the time that I think that it would be viable. It's not something that I practice, not something that I do. The DM sets the scene, the players tell the DM what they're gonna do, and then the dice tell the story. At least that's how I play. Shazam Von Doom 325 says this: emerging plots are better as additions to a DM's ideas, rather than full zero prep. This is another one of those things that kind of splits the community. Whether you should storyboard out your actual session, go full on zero prep, or somewhere in between. At the most these days, I have bullet points, and that works fine some of the time. Other times, I do full on emergent and roll on tables and see where everything goes. With the campaign that I've been running for about a year now, I do exactly that. Sometimes I bullet point things out, other times it's emergent. But there's plenty of sessions in my notebook that have the day of the week, the month, and the weather, and nothing else is written down. And we've had awesome sessions with just that. Wingus Ryu 8289 says this, and shout out to Wingus, he's my high priest over at our Discord. Make sure you go and sign up and join the community there. He says, I think I might prefer levelless games more for the reason that the players do not become obsessed with the concept of leveling. I don't want it to feel like a video game. This could get under some people's skin, thinking that there's not meaningful advancement without going through levels. I can go either way here. I see the power with leveling. I also see power with not having levels, getting away from that video gamey feel. But really, we only have the video game versions because of role-playing games. So that's something to keep in mind. I started playing in the 80s, and I was playing AD&D, which obviously has levels, but I was also playing two levelless games, which were Star Wars the role-playing game and Torg, role-playing the Possibility Wars. Both ways, as far as I'm concerned, are completely fine. But I do find that some players really enjoy seeing that level progression, and therefore feeling, at least on paper, more powerful, even though technically they're not. Other than with the descriptions of spells and how many attacks per round they get and all of that. It feels like they have power, but technically they're just fighting more and more powerful monsters. So really, I guess it's a philosophy choice. Ethan Grant 5061 says this: better stories appear when your character is mundane and not the lost child of a forbidden romance between a fairy queen and a werewolf. I'd much prefer following the exploits of Billy, the ex-radish farmer, while he survives the caves of chaos. Your character's adventures should start with the campaign, not off-screen in your backstory. I really like this, but I've found that characters enjoy that aspect of the game, which is not really part of the game, but helps them to get plugged into the game. I can see the power in both methods. Some of my most memorable play was with 0 level characters. I could go either way, so your mileage may vary on that. Sorry, I'm not being very opinionated here. Medieval Fantasy TV says this: Critical Role and Stranger Things were the worst things to ever happen to D&D. Damn, that's a tough one. That definitely is the spicy take, maybe even of this video. I can see where there is a lot of good. At least it invited a lot of people into the hobby. People are not playing Stranger Things D&D by and large. They're playing 5e. Hopefully they've moved away from that and are not continuing to give WotC money because, well, that company. But I don't think that it's been a problem. I really don't. I think it's brought more people into the hobby. When I've seen Critical Role, I don't really see anything different than what I do week by week. I'm not saying I'm Matt Mercer or that we have a bunch of voice actors. It's the same game to me. And I think Matt Mercer started when I started playing role-playing games. And so maybe we have that mid-school philosophy about gaming, so I don't really see anything different. So I don't think it's a bad thing that Critical Role exists, though they do have opinions on things outside of the game that shouldn't affect the game itself. And Stranger Things just reminded me of when I started playing the game and made me want to play more. I don't agree, but it is a spicy take. This is from Cavalera Sancho. He says, rules as written, 1 time, rotate GMs, and characters are communal. I think that would work for maybe 4 or 5 sessions, but man, I would hate to play that way. I would just hate to play that way. I think rotating GMs would be fun, as long as you're of the same mindset and understand the world. 1 time? No. Just no. Rules as written? Absolutely not. D&D started off as homebrew and was constantly being tweaked, so the spirit of the game is homebrew. Characters are communal. Again, that would be fun for a few weeks, but man, I like being plugged in to my character. Very spicy take. All right, next one. Merlin Sturgandeldor says this. As well, there's a follow-up. They're kind of the same thing, hitting on the same subject. Hrothgar Runelfer, 1972. Hopefully I said that right. So the first one from Merlin, first edition level caps for demi-humans and level drain mechanics for the win. And Hrothgar says, level caps for non-human characters are a good thing. Advancement past 5th level should be incredibly rare. Everything has too many hit points. Cut all hit points by 50%. I totally agree with this. I think that there should be level caps with demi-humans, but I also think that you should explain to your characters why that's a thing. They do gain many additional benefits as demi-humans, and because they're long-lived, are not necessarily as ambitious as humans. In fact, they shouldn't be in any way, shape, or form, which is why they should have the level cap. And I do agree that past 5th level in a game like D&D, things start to break down. I typically range between 1st and 10th, and I've gone up to 20th and even beyond that. But, 1st through 10th, that is where the sweet spot is and where the rules really shine. And I agree, everything has too many hit points. Cut all HP by 50%. Sorry, wizard. Coyote OY100 says this. The pure level up is overrated. Going back to levels. Handing out milestone goodies or let them find awesome loot. That's my personal favorite method. The only real deal for the older school games is for wizards having more spell slots to play with. I think it's a spicy take, especially if you get rid of levels for a game like D&D. I know there's people that do that and are just kind of like, oh, we will hand out things as we see fit. But I don't know. It is a spicy take. I could take it and I could run with it myself. But again, I think you would have to explain it to your players, and your players would need to be on board. I don't think it's for everyone. But I love levelless games. Let me be clear about that. I don't think that that's a problem at all. It's just if you're going to introduce that into a game like D&D, you might start having some problems. Jonathan Molyneux 4113 says this: flying races aren't broken, and flight itself is way overestimated in its value as an ability. That's spicy. That is spicy. If you're playing a gonzo game with a bunch of furries, absolutely have at it. I've had fun with this sort of thing. And I think flight should be used in game, but I also personally think that it should be limited to a specific period of time. That goes along with the emergent story or the story that is being laid out. But bypassing ravines, cliff sides, canyons, or flying up to the top of a mountain and resting on the uppermost roof of a castle that you're supposed to infiltrate, yeah, I'm not into that at all. But I see where both can be fun. But I definitely lean towards no flight. Grey Wolf Dracon says this: you shouldn't need special homebrew rules, spells, whatever. If you're truly creative, you can do epic stuff with whatever is available. So, rules as written. It's about thinking outside the box, not having a bunch of special tools at your disposal. That's a spicy take. I don't agree at all. Like I said earlier, all D&D is homebrew. That's all it is. And so homebrew, I think, is a part of the game. I personally don't want to play with a rules lawyer, and I definitely don't want to play rules as written. But that's just me. Again, it's just an opinion. Yori the Human says this: any character with 90 plus HP is a curse. It's a torture. Counting hits is better. Only 3 hits for gritty sword and sorcery low-level mode, and 7 hits for high fantasy epic level mode. I love playing with hits. My workaround for a game like D&D is to have maximum hit points go to about between 15 and 30 for player characters. And with an average of 6, 7, or 8 points of damage per attack against a player, that roughly adds up to about 3, 4, or 5 hits. So I totally like this. And you should lower your monster's hit points overall. There's just too many. No need to slog it out. Maybe if it's the BBEG. But that's up to the DM to decide on the fly. The Pale Emperor says perception checks should be banned. If the player doesn't state where or what their PC is looking for, then it never happened. Damn, that's a spicy take. I've been using perception checks since Torg came out in 1990. And I gotta say, I use it all the time. And I would say to a fault. So maybe I might look more into this. This is a spicy take for sure. Yeah, now you got me thinking. Yavin Hilo 229 says, opportunity attacks is a bad mechanic. Yeah, I kind of think they're dumb too. I really do. Yeah. Spicy take. And I agree. We'll end with this one. Toothache AZ, maybe Toothache Arizona? I don't know. He rattled off a bunch of things. I'll just say whether I agree or not as I go down. Fantasy is the worst TTRPG genre. Spicy take for sure. I think you might just be trying to ruffle some feathers here. Yeah, I don't agree. Weird dice are always more fun than ordinary dice. I agree. Not being able to calculate the odds in your head is a good thing. Totally agree with that. Character death is the most boring option. Yeah, I would agree with that. There's other things you can do. Even in a TPK, there are other planes of existence and, well, dimensions even. But death does happen, and it happens often in my games. I really dig this next one. Characters should get weaker over time until they need to retire or go out in a final sacrifice act, like real life. This got me thinking about, since my sweet spot is 1st through 10th level, that you could go to 20 levels, right? But you have them go all the way up to 10th, and then regress, if they're cool with it, all the way back to first level, then 0, then retire. It's an interesting concept. I'll have to think more on that one. Did you agree with any of these? Did you disagree? Let me know in the comments. All right, everyone. Thanks for stopping by Agranak Studios today, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.